Hey guys, welcome back to another daily devotional. So when we were talking about what we wanted to do for our next devotional, we decided that instead of doing a topic, we really wanted to pull from scripture. We really think that it's not only important to study scripture every day, but especially during this time to really hear from God and read his word. And so for our first study, we're going to go through the book of Ruth. It's a book in the Old Testament. It's a fairly short book. It has 4 chapters. So what we decided to do is we're going to do a chapter a day. So 4 videos for each chapter. And if you want to go ahead and read chapter 1, you can pause right now and go read, and then we'll come back and recap.
So Ruth is a drama. It is a love story. Of course, it's a biblical story, so there's life application and truth about God in this story. But if you're not paying attention as you read these first 5 verses, you might miss it. The story starts with just this awful tragedy. Israel's in famine, so Naomi and her husband Elimelech pick up and move to Moab. And while they're in Moab, both of their sons get married, but while in Moab, Naomi loses her husband as well as both of her sons. And so if you read through this quickly, you might miss it, but in 5 verses, it is over the course of 10 years, and just tragedy happens in the life of Naomi. And so this book starts in just this awful, dark kind of place, but we know, but be comforted because it doesn't stay there. We know that it will get better. And so it starts from just this awful, tough place, but we learn about Naomi, and we start to learn about her 2 daughters-in-law. And so Naomi is heartbroken. She is going to go back to her country of Israel, and she tells her daughters-in-law that they should stay in Moab, that they should just abandon her because they have a life ahead of them, whereas Naomi has counted her life as already finished. She's said that her life is already done. And they both weep with her, they both kiss her, and one daughter-in-law, Orpah, leaves. The other daughter, Ruth, refuses to leave her. And we see, even in verse 14, it says that she clung to her, and that Ruth clung to Naomi. Now this word is really important. The word clung is the same word as to cling that God says when he introduces marriage in Genesis. He says that you should leave your mother and father and cling to your spouse. And this is the same word that Ruth uses for Naomi. It's this word of we will never be parted unless death parts us. Unless God parts us, I am not leaving you. And it's even like we see our wedding vows as you read in verse 17. It says, "Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you." It's like exactly how our marriage vows sound today. And so we have Naomi and Ruth who return back into Israel after just this awful tragedy. And we know that there will be something positive that comes from it, but right now it starts in just a really, really tough place.
Yeah. To expand further on what David said through Ruth chapter 1 verses 15 through 18, like David said, Naomi tries to get Ruth and Orpah to go back to their country, and Orpah does. First they both said, no, we want to go with you, and then Orpah ends up leaving, but Ruth gives, like David said, this really profound statement to Naomi, telling her, like, no, I'm gonna go with you. And I just wanted to put this out because she just shows her so much kindness, and she tells her basically, I'm not going to let you go on this journey alone. I'm going with you. She's accepted Naomi as family, as a mother, as someone that she's not going to abandon, especially during this time. She understands that it's a really tragic time for her. And so I just want to point that out so we don't miss it, and that Naomi genuinely cares for Orpah and Ruth, and she wasn't telling them to go back because she didn't want their company. She was really looking out for them. She tells them to go back because they needed to go find another husband to marry again, have a family, have financial support. And talking about that, going to the first 5 verses where it really gives the backstory of Naomi. In verse 5, it says that she left without her 2 sons and her husband, and like David said, she's going back to her country of Bethlehem. Is Bethlehem a country?
No, she's going back to Israel, but the city of Bethlehem.
City of Bethlehem. There we go. And I'm really bad with geography, guys. I literally used to think that Belgium was in China. Anyways, and so yeah, I know. So anyways, she's going back to the city of Bethlehem, and she's going back because if we really look at history, male presence was your financial support. If you got married as a woman, you got married to have offsprings, and so they can carry on the family and all that stuff, but also for financial support. And so when she lost her husband, she lost her financial support, but if her sons were still living, they would have taken her in and supported her. But because she also lost her sons, she had no one to support her, and that's the reason why she's making that trek back to Bethlehem. And when I was reading this, the word community popped out to me. She's going back to Bethlehem because she realizes that she needs community. She cannot do this alone. She needs community help. She wasn't going back really to find marriage like the way that she told Orpah and Ruth to do. She's just going back to where she's from because she knows that she has community there. And she realized that this is a hard journey and that she's not going to be able to do that by herself. And that really, as I was meditating on that, I've realized that that's kind of the way that we are right now. And David has said this a lot, where in the situation we are right now, we're not together, but we're not apart. Maybe the situation has you, in a financial hardship the way that Naomi's situation has it, or maybe it's just a mentally hard thing to be by yourself, to be socially distanced. But just know, number one, that whatever situation that you're in, whatever hardship that you're facing, that you're not alone. Number one, you're not alone because there are others also in the same situation as you, but you're really not alone because God's with you. He is with us every single step of the way. And then on top of that, I encourage you guys to find community. If you don't have community to go through this season alone, I really urge you to find that. And it's a very weird place that we're in, because no matter where you are, if you're across the world or if just across the street, we're all kind of experiencing this social distance together. And I think that's just such a great way to bring the Big C church together. And so I, again, encourage you guys to find community, to go through this season not by yourself and not try to navigate this by yourself. And I just, like I said, I really want to encourage you guys for that. And as we keep reading through Ruth, we'll understand a little bit more about the community and the reason why Naomi went back to Bethlehem.
Yeah, absolutely. The community, as we go through these last chapters, you'll see how the community meant so much to Ruth and meant so much to Naomi, and that's so good. You're right. So we're excited to go through Ruth. It's like I said, it's like a drama, love story, Bible story. So there's so much in there. So because there's so much in there, we can't get to everything that's in there. Not that we ever could, but read it for yourself. It's so good. So Ruth 1, we've just pulled some things out of it, but if you haven't read it, you should. And read Ruth 2 before we see you again, because we'll just keep going with this crazy good story that we have in the Old Testament. And thank you for watching.